Hey, welcome back to Global Environment. Today we're kind of starting a new section of the course, and one of the themes we're going to be starting with is hunting and gathering. But let's put things into context a little bit. Okay, so really the first part of the course was all about setting the stage. It was looking at the physical systems of the Earth. We looked at the global heat engine. Then we looked at different environments, how the biotic structures of the Earth respond to the abiotic components. So we looked at diversity of environments, we talked about gradients, then we talked about the diversity of life, the different biomes, and we looked at how did we get those biomes, how did we get those different ecosystems, so the role of evolution in the biotic environment. And then we connected them with first principles, always with energy. So basically, the role of energy and the laws that control energy, because those dictated the global heat engine. They also dictated evolution by natural selection. So we went through that, and here we are today. And what are we going to do now? We're going to look at how the human systems have adjusted and evolved in response to the natural environment and also the abiotic conditions of the Earth. Okay, so let's go back way back, and we'll talk quickly about our ancestors. So we're talking about hominid evolution. So the human race, as many of you know, began in Africa. And they were responding to those environments there in Africa, and then over time they started spreading out. And basically, we look at this picture, could represent some of our ancestors. At one point in human history, there were a lot of basically hominids, early human-type creatures. We were the only survivors. So really, we came up with a system, and both physical and cultural system, that made us survive when the others failed. And we got to keep that in mind, because it has meaning for other parts of the course later on when we talk about cultural evolution, and also basically the role of technology and energy in human society. Okay, now let's go back a little bit and talk about what happens after the spread of humanity. So humanity spreads throughout the world, and if you were to go back in a time machine, maybe 15,000 years ago, basically you would find that all societies were hunters and gatherers. Okay, all societies were basically getting their food in small bands, going out, gathering roots and nuts and berries, and also hunting small game. But at around, just at about 15,000 years ago, something happened. Certain societies basically took off when it came to technology. And, in the year, in the 21st century, we look around, there are still some people who are living pretty close to the Stone Age. But there were some societies that just exploded, sent people to the moon, for example. What is the root cause of that difference? Why did some societies take off and other ones didn't? You can imagine at 15,000 years, they're all on the starting line. Boom! They start running, and some barely move an inch. Other ones take off and expand. Okay, so that's where we're going to get into our main reading by Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel. So if you look in the first part of that book, it's called Yali's Question. Yali's Question. There's a little bit of a story to that. Basically, Jared Diamond, at the beginning of the book, he's walking on the beach in New Guinea, and he runs into a young politician who's really picking his brain. And they start talking, and basically, near the end of the conversation, this guy Yali asks Jared Diamond, he says, why do the white people have all the cargo? That's what he asks. And basically, he's asking the same question. Why did certain societies take off? And in this case, people in New Guinea didn't. So Jared Diamond tries to answer that question. And he basically tells you the answer right off. He's very bold. Right at the beginning, he tells you the answer, but he thinks you'll be intrigued enough to read the rest of the book. He says it has to do with geography and basically the east-west axis of Eurasia giving a competitive advantage when it comes to environment to basically Europeans. Okay, so let's look at kind of the thinking. Why should we even ask these questions? People are often threatened by the idea that some groups took off and other ones didn't. Why should we ask these questions? And basically, he says we have to ask them because if we don't, people will expect a certain answer, at least subconsciously. And that is that Europeans are just smarter. So let's look at this slide here. And, you know, he attacks these head on. The idea, Europeans are more intelligent, basically he attacks that head on by saying, in fact, he thinks Europeans are less intelligent. He says they were selected for diseases. If you look culturally now, we spend so much of our time in front of television sets. He says people he worked with in New Guinea were on their toes all the time. The leading cause of death for males was murder. So you had to be on your toes at all times. You were selected for that. And you had to experience your environment at all times. So he turns it on its head. He says, in fact, when people like New Guinea folks are more intelligent, why did Europeans still expand more quickly? And he wants to look at proximate causes, you know, the guns, germs, and the steel, and then get to the ultimate causes, which he will show us in the book is the environment. And he wants to address it now because he says science has come a long way since people tried to address these questions maybe 100, 150 years ago. There's advances in evolutionary biology, genetics, the social sciences, so we have a lot of new data to look at it. And he also says he is uniquely qualified because of his background in linguistics, evolutionary biology, his cross-cultural experiences, history. He can do that. Okay, and again, this course is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. And it fits well in here. And it also is intriguing because in many books and even in courses, the environment is seen as something that is just focused, is being impacted by humans. It's passive. And what we will see is that the environment has had a huge impact on society, the development of human culture. So we'll stop there, and I'll see you next time on Global Environment.